Right, guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and today I'm going to be doing a celebrity psychic mediumship reading on Nostradamus. This is very exciting for me, not just because it's Halloween, but because in the world of psychics, and famous men, male psychics, we do see a lot today, but back in the day, we had the Fox sisters, and we had a lot of different psychics, that were very famous in the early 1800s, 1900s. But going back to the time that Nostradamus was alive, that was way back then. It was very rare for, unless it was like in the Bible documented or in historical doctrine, about prophets and seers, like in in Egypt, there were a lot of prophets or seers, and they were mainly just depicted as females throughout history. So it's very exciting to do a psychic reading on someone that I look up to and that I feel it was very connected to every aspect of the universe, very much ahead of his time, and this was Nostradamus. For those of you that are asking who is Nostradamus, he is known throughout the world as this prophet, as the seer, a seer meaning psychic, or like with clairvoyance, the ability to see visions of things, and he documented a lot of these in what we call quatrains. And so he did a lot of these predictions. A lot of people say that he predicted 9/11. He predicted a lot of the wars. He predicted some of the disasters that have happened here in the U.S. and worldwide. So I'm going to go ahead and give you not what, has been on the History Channel or what's been documented online or in textbooks, but what I get from Spirit directly and from his soul. I do feel like Nostradamus is now an ascended master. He was someone that was working with Saint Germain and also with Jesus. And I know a lot of people would be tuning in and be like, well, how would he be working with Jesus? Jesus, Mary, Buddha, all these historical religious figures are ascended masters or teachers on the other side. They have reincarnated several times here on earth, basically being a teacher, to many people. And so I feel like Nostradamus was born a natural psychic medium, but back then they didn't really call it a psychic medium. They didn't call it psychic. They call it seeing or having this prophetic visions. And I do feel like he actually had the Virgin Mary appear to him before, embarking on this and having these visions manifest. But from a very early childhood, I feel like he saw shadows, he saw ghosts, he had experiences of the paranormal in many ways, and he knew that there was much more to this earth than than what met the eye. He also felt growing up very much different than other children. I do get that he was very much different than a lot of other kids. He was very mature, and he didn't really like to play too much. He was more into like sitting by himself and kind of like playing with nature maybe, and also just kind of learning what he saw through his eyes, and the visions that he had. I do feel like his parents didn't understand quite his gift, but I do feel that the bloodline that he comes from would have had a lot of these people that had these awesome psychic abilities. I also get that he was someone that was feared as he grew older and started making a lot of these predictions. I also feel he was a healer, and I don't know if it's documented or not in the history books or in history, but I actually feel like he knew remedies and holistic approaches to heal people in the village and where he lived, in the area that he lived in. So a lot of people came to him for advice as well, and I feel like there was money paid to him, under the tables, kind of like back then you were considered a witch or you were considered something very, working with the devil. But you have to again think about the time frame that we are talking about. It's a time period where there is not a lot of openness. Consciousness is very, very low. It's probably like in the 2D, 3D level, and people feared, things that they didn't understand. And so back then you would have been considered a witch and burned or, crucified in some kind of manner if you displayed having any kind of supernatural ability. So I feel like in many ways he was very fearful of coming out and really, showing what he could do to people. So he kept it under the table, but he knew that, upon his passing, that years from now, that there was going to be a lot of his writings uncovered, and that a lot of his that he would be known throughout history for it. Like, he could see that far out. And I do believe as he got older, his abilities did get stronger, which is very true to modern day, those of you that would be listening that are clairvoyant like I am, and a lot of you out there that may have clairvoyant abilities or psychic abilities. As we get older, the gift gets stronger. But again, you have to use that gift. It's almost like a muscle. A lot of people that are into fitness and gym, going to the gym and, training and whatnot. If you are using, and you're training consistently, and there's a consistency to it, you're only going to develop and get strong, and those muscles are going to be strong. And it's the same thing with the psychic gift, with the ability of clairvoyance. The more that you use it, of course, within the confines of reasonability, being reasonable and honoring the gift, not abusing it, it does get stronger. So you have to honor your gift, and I feel like he did honor his ability to see. Meaning, when I say honor, not using it for personal gain, for yourself, not using it to hurt others and manipulate them with your gift, but basically using it for the highest good. And I feel like he did. The thing is that he didn't feel happy. I feel like he felt trapped in many ways in his life, because having this awesome gift, a lot of people think, well, I would want to be in your shoes, and really and truly you wouldn't. If you knew what we could see, and what we go through as clairvoyants, it's not easy, and what we experience on a physical level. I do feel like he had a lot of medium abilities himself. He was a physical medium, in addition to a clairvoyant. So he also had a lot of health issues, you know and he felt a lot of pain. But I feel for the most part, his most predominant and what he wanted to use the most was his psychic ability, which is the clairvoyance. And so that's why he had a lot of these visions. And I do feel like he was very misunderstood. His family didn't get it. Even when he got older and learn how to, help people on a broader level, there was still a lot of fear, but he did want to document everything he could see. I do feel like he had very much encounters with extraterrestrials. I know that may sound way out there, but I do feel like he in his DNA himself, he was connected to the angelic realm and also to extraterrestrials. So he had DNA that wasn't necessarily the same here on Earth as a lot of humans. I do feel like he was human, but again, his DNA was very much activated, and so he was on a path of ascension, and I feel like he was vibrating already at the 5D, the 4D and 5D level of consciousness while here on Earth. So he had that ability on those levels to really foresee a lot of things. But I also feel that he could reach to the 6th dimension and the 7th dimension, of state of consciousness. This is a higher state of consciousness, and he learned how to stay in that vibration for snippets at a time while he was getting these visions. He did a lot of scrying, which is basically, they said that, it's documented that he got a bowl of water and there was like black ink in it. And through that black thing, he would also use an obsidian crystal, a rainbow obsidian crystal, which is like a black crystal, but when you shine it in the light, it has like rainbow colors on it. And through that, he was able to see, when you scry, you're able to, it's a form of divination. He was able to see visions and whatnot through that bowl of water. You have to understand, like I've talked about this in different videos, water is a conduit. It's a spiritual conduit. So people that are like mediums or that channel or do channeling, a lot of them will have like a water bottle nearby or some kind of water. Those that are witches, and do spells and whatnot, sometimes they use the element of water during the rituals or spells, because again, it's a spiritual conduit. It's one of the elements of the earth, air, water, fire, wind. So I feel like he was very much also a male witch. He could be considered a male witch. He was born a natural psychic medium. He had all of these awesome abilities, but then he got more drawn into the occult, which is not a bad thing. I don't feel like he was a warlock or something that was very dark, like a dark male witch, but I really feel he was more of a white male witch, and he really got a lot more interested into into magical abilities. He was magical in all senses. Nostradamus was magical. And I feel like a lot of the things that he saw, he had a lot of nightmares, and he did a lot of astral traveling during his sleep time. So that's how he had a lot of these predictions and things that he would foresee into the future. It wasn't just like the people had documented that it was just through scrying that he would have had these visions. He would have had them also, during his sleep time. And a lot of you that are listening that are mediums or that have medium abilities, a lot of times we start to see things, remotely from our dreams. You could be tuning into an actual event or a past event on the astral plane, because the astral plane can replay, past events, and you can go back and relive that and kind of like see that. Or you can also tune into the future a lot, future events. So a lot of people that are mediums sometimes, dream about someone before they pass. They dream about a certain event before it happens. A lot of psychics that had predicted in the 9/11 or had seen it. I know that the psychic twins were documented for that. They had foreseen that, but a lot of other people, like Nostradamus, had seen it before the psychic twins. They had. He had seen it, he had documented it. A lot of people, tried to dismiss his quatrains as, rubbish, and just that it wasn't, accurate. And he was, he's been, a lot of, Christians and religious people have really, condemned him even after now that he's dead, in spirit form. They still don't believe that Nostradamus was a psychic or that had the ability to see, but he was very much so a psychic and a prophet. And his quatrains speak for themselves. They're up for interpretation, but it's very, if for those of you that haven't studied Nostradamus or haven't really looked at his quatrains, they were very, very on point, very spot on. You could say they're kind of cryptic, but you have to understand when we get visions and stuff, it's not like, it's not always exact names or places. The way that we see things is sometimes through signs, symbols, or it could be like like I said, he had visions and he just didn't understand what place this was, where it was going to hit exactly. Like, he didn't know it was going to be New York City, that was going to be the name, but he saw, more or less that it was going to be something in the air hitting. So again, for those of you that wouldn't know this, after this reading, you can go online, Google Nostradamus quatrains or Nostradamus predictions, and kind of read them. It's very, very interesting what he could see and how far out in the future he could see. And again, this is what I tell people, is that we're only able to see what spirit allows us to see, what the God source, the divine, allows us to see. We're not fortune tellers. That's not what a psychic is. But a lot of people have, since sensationalized this, have misconstrued the concept and the idea of a psychic on TV and movies, that we're some gypsy, we wear a turban and we work with a crystal ball and we tell people their futures and their fortunes. That's not what we do. Yes, there are some future psychic, insight that we can get or know the outcome, but the future for the most part is unwritten. But even though it's unwritten, I do feel like a lot of what Nostradamus was connecting to was like the Akashic records, things that were already predestined, and he was tapping into events that were not going to be altered. These were like natural disaster. I've made several predictions as well of the natural disasters, like Hurricane Michael recently that hit Florida and went all the way up to Georgia, in those areas. I was affected by Hurricane Harvey, and I had predicted that, that last year in 2017, that we were going to have massive, massive catastrophic hurricanes, and that Texas would be one area that was hit, and it was spot on. So these are the kind of things, and there's like a lot of famous other psychics out there that are very famous and, have made these predictions. There was one psychic that had predicted the tsunami that hit a couple of years ago over there in, where it had hit. In that country. So there's a lot of different, psychics nowadays that are making these predictions or these, future events that we're able to see. And a lot of people that would be tuning in is like, well, what good is it, having these abilities to see if you can't alert the government or you can't alert, someone and let them know. The thing is that even though we are evolving and the world is evolving and the consciousness is elevating to a higher vibration, there's people like the psychic twins who did, that predict on the radio, I believe, about 9/11, and then they were treated horribly by the government. They were questioned, by the FBI and whatnot, because they felt like they, knew something, or, and really and truly it was just a psychic ability. And they talk about that. If you want to also research the psychic twins, I love them. I think they're awesome. Um, but you can, research them and hear about, their story with 9/11. They also had seen it, but, a lot of people don't take us seriously as psychics and mediums, especially like the government and people. So like, I've made a lot of predictions before they come to pass. I had predicted, that with this current administration um, that who's in office was going to be in office. I had made that prediction. I also predicted for Australia that the same-sex marriage was going to be legalized. That happened. I also had predicted that Prince Harry, was getting married, at a certain time with Meghan. And that's all documented, that I had. But, a lot of people that would be tuning into this that are skeptic, and I just, tell you, just have an open mind. We're not God. That's what I tell everyone. We're not God. We're not fully aware of every single aspect that's going to happen. I consider myself a child of God. I consider myself, someone that knows that my gift is special, and it wouldn't be possible without a divine power, whether this is called God or the God source or the divine or the higher power. I'm not religious, so I'm spiritual, but I'm just trying to give a point for those of you that are Christian that are tuning in, or people that are skeptic in some way. I want you to kind of relate to this and not be afraid of it. A lot of people demonize and try to, you know, um, in a way castigate us for being different, because they don't understand our abilities and whatnot. But going back to Nostradamus, he was just a visionary. He was someone who could see, and I feel like he became a lot more stronger into magic and healing, and he used it for the highest good. So he's somebody that is going to always be known, and his name is always going to pop up, because regardless of how you cut it, however you look at it, he was very much on point with a lot of his predictions. I believe he also predicted something about Hitler. He had called out Hitler. He knew that Hitler was going to do what he did, and you can go back, and there's I used to I checked out a long time ago. I went to the college library when I was in college, and I checked out one of his books on Nostradamus, and I read all of his quatrains, and it was so intriguing. A lot of the language is way different, of course, than now. It's English, but the way it's been translated, it's like you wouldn't, it's almost like a riddle in a lot of the quatrains, but if you really look at them and read them, they make a lot of sense, in how he positioned it and how it was given to him from spirit. So yeah, I think he is someone who was very authentic to himself. He kept to himself. He really didn't get to experience love on a deep level, because I feel like all he was experiencing was fear, in many ways, fear of being murdered. And upon his passing, I do feel like he transcended immediately. His soul transcended back into the spiritual realm, and now he is a teacher. He is an ascended master. A lot of people wouldn't, call him an ascended master, because the ascended masters are typically known through like religious figures. But I really feel like he is an ascended master working alongside Saint Germain and a lot of other of the ascended masters, helping people now on the other side. So yeah, I'm glad that y'all suggested for me to do this psychic reading on Nostradamus. Definitely was a good idea. And if you have any other suggestions of any other people you'd like for me to do a psychic reading on, please comment in the comment section below. Also, be sure to check out my new show. It's called Tea with Spirit. It airs every Monday. I just filmed episode 6, and it was aired yesterday. So be sure to catch that on my playlist. here on my channel. And also be sure to check out my new book. It's called Starseed Footsteps. I'm so excited to announce that it's sold out. Can you believe that? It's sold out for the second time on Amazon. So but it is being restocked. So if you'd like to pick that up, it's a great gift for the holidays. If you're traveling, on the plane, going to see your family, it's a good idea to have that book and you can read it. I promise you won't be bored. I cover everything from like angels to demons to witchcraft to the occult, what happens to the soul when we die, crystals, herbs, I cover a lot of things, and spiritual protection, how to protect yourself, how to develop your gift and whatnot. So if you haven't picked up a copy, please do so. If you'd like to get an autographed copy, you can order that directly from my website, and I will be shipping that out, within the allotted time frame to you. And if you'd like to set up a private reading, you can go to my website, and be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Have an amazing day. Blessings and love and light.